Alrighty, in this video we're going to go over IXL S.25 or ADB. So in this week we talked about parallel versus perpendicular slopes. So when we talk about parallel versus perpendicular, the only thing we really care about is the slope. If it's parallel, they're the same. If it's perpendicular, they are opposite reciprocals. All right, so let's talk about this. So line T has a slope of 7 over 6. Line U is parallel to line T. So it wants to know the slope. So for this example, all we would need to know is that this word parallel means that they have identical or the same exact slopes. So if it wants to know the slope of line U, it's the same thing. So you have 7 over 6. Going to another example. The equation of line T is y equals 7/3 x plus 6. So before we go even further, we already know that we're only dealing with the slope here. So even though it's a big equation, there's really only one number that I'm trying to grab from this, just because I know that I'm dealing with slopes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on just the slope, which is the number in front of x. It's your m, okay? So that's it. So every other thing I can kind of ignore. I really only care about that this equation has a slope of 7/3. Line U is perpendicular to that. So the first thing I need to tell myself is, okay, I need to find a perpendicular slope to 7 over 3. Well, perpendicular must have opposite reciprocal. Big words, but there's two words and it reminds me that there's two steps. So opposite means that I need to change the sign. So my new line, or line U that I'm trying to come up with, is going to be negative because this is currently positive. Reciprocal means that I just flip the fraction. So it's 3 over 7. And it must be both. It must be both opposite and a reciprocal in order to be perpendicular. You can't just do one or the other. So let's do this one. So this one is a little bit different. We are going to have to use a formula that we're going to go over, which is called the slope formula. So the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And when it comes to this, we're going to do more of this next week with the slope formula. But for in this case, we just need to find the slope of line C and the slope of line D and then compare them. Okay? So the slope of line C. So let's do C. This is line C. So I'm going to set up my equation. This is going to be x, y, x, y. This is point 1 and this is point 2. All right, y2 is 9 minus y1, which is 2. x2 is 7 and x1 is 2. So then we just go ahead and go right across. 9 minus 2 is 7. 7 minus 2 is 5. I can't simplify this any further, so line C has a slope of 7/5. So let's go ahead and try, I'm going to choose a different color. Let's try line D. Okay, I'm going to set up my equation with my minus signs because I always forget them. So I will do x and y, x and y. Kind of wish they put that in the same line. 1, 1, 2, and 2. y2 is 5. y1 is 10. x2 is 1. And x1 is 8. So let's go ahead and try this. 5 minus 10 is negative 5. 1 minus 8 is negative 7. Okay, this looks simple. It looks like it's as simple as it can get, but it really isn't because when you divide by two negatives, or if you have two negatives, that is going to make it a positive. So this is actually going to be simplified to positive 5 over 7 because negative divided by negative gives you a positive. So now let's talk about, are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? They look They're definitely flipped. The fractions are flipped. Okay, so we know they're not parallel. They could be perpendicular, but it has to be both an opposite and a reciprocal. This is a reciprocal, but they're not opposite. They are both positive, so it can't be perpendicular. In this case, it would be neither.